Good day. Today, we want to do a stationary point. Uh, when a point is called a stationary point, it's whereby our curve turns. In other words, it's called a turning point at a stationary point. So, at a stationary point, it's always the tangent to that point, it's always horizontal to the x-axis. So at a stationary point can be like this. So a tangent, it's always horizontal to the or parallel to the x-axis. The tangent to a stationary point. So now, when a curve is like this, at this point, we can call that this curve, this point A. Let's take B, this one. At this point, we can call it Y has got a minimum value. Y has got a minimum value, and B, Y has a maximum value. So in other words, so whenever we are at a stationary point, the dy dx or the gradient function at any stationary point is equal to 0. The gradient function of at any stationary point is equal to 0, and the second derivative, like let's say d squared y over dx squared, if the value is positive, it means we have a minimum value for y. If this one again is negative, the value of the squared y over the x squared is negative, it means we have a y maximum value. So by so doing, I think when you want to locate the stationary points, first things first, we need to find the first derivative so that we can equate it to 0, because always the gradient is 0, since the tangent to that curve is always parallel to the x-axis, or it's always horizontal. So we find the first derivative, then we equate it to 0, then we know that, then we find the coordinates at that point. That means we are having a stationary point. So we need now to find the nature of that point, the nature of those points. If are we having a maximum value or a minimum value? So we will need to find the second derivative. So when we find the second derivative, what are we looking for? We want to see if the second derivative, is it positive or negative. If the second derivative is positive, then it means our y value is always minimal. If the second derivative is negative, that means our y value is maximum. So I think this is all what we need to know for now. We'll talk about a point of inflection at a later stage, but for now there is no difference. There is no so much difference to find the point of inflection. It's just the same like finding the turning point, because the point of inflection, it's also a turning point of a curve. So the concept is just the same. So let's do a few examples of determining the stationary points and the nature of those points.